Welcome everyone. Welcome to Charging Stack, where we dig into tools, tactics, and thinkers shaping the next era of mobility. And today we're taking a closer look at the hidden engine of shared mobility, the themes and technology that keeps fleets alive and operating. Because it's one thing to launch a car sharing service, it's another to wash, charge, relocate, and maintain hundreds of vehicles across multiple cities in real time. And that's where FleetFox comes in, based in Estonia. FleetFox is building a managed marketplace for B2B fleet services. If I if I said that correctly. So FleetFox manages everything from eco car washes to last minute refueling to everything is powered by smart routing tech and a growing army of underground partners. And joining us is Martin Kristerson, CEO and co-founder of FleetFox and one of Estonia's top startup builders. Martin, welcome. Welcome to Charging Stack. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And today I'd like to start with few intro questions. So let's start with where FleetFox is today. So it's 8 years in, you're operating across 6 countries, and that's a no small feat for a company handling the most hands-on part of mobility. And I imagine your perspective on business has changed quite a bit since year one. What's evolved most in how you think about FleetFox?
How I think about FleetFox, very interesting question. Maybe rewinding the clock a bit, showing a little bit of the background where we're coming from as well, just to give some context here. So been in the industry myself for 8 years. We started off as a mobile car wash for B2C, and we were doing only mobile car washing for consumers. So pretty much like Volt or DoorDash for car wash services. Started building technology, started scaling to different cities, different countries. And then we realized this is not a scalable business concept, just because it's a vitamin business and extremely costly to scale. So that's about 2 years ago now. We did the full company pivot. We said goodbye to 30,000 paying B2C clients. We still kept the technology because it's always been more or less an in-house tool to maximize performance, quality, unit economics, efficiency, and so forth. So we were able to reuse the same technology we've had been building for years. And today where we are, as you mentioned very well, Philip, is we're a managed marketplace helping large corporate fleet managers save money and time on light services. So where we draw the line is that we do not do anything that is related to hard services such as repairs, tire changes, stuff where you need talented workforce or make hardware investments. We keep everything asset light using independent contractors, existing infrastructure found in any city, and so forth. What I think about FleetFox, 2 years only in the business. And I think, first thing is like after we made the pivot, things changed a lot. We're so happy to be in a B2B sector because now we're solving real problems for real businesses, saving them money on things they are doing. Obviously, there's some, things that we're still learning because we've been in the industry for B2B, particularly roughly 2 years.
I'd like to ask you, since you're scaling across several countries and many cities, how does it all play out when you need to manage teams and fleets across all the countries? How does it play out in real time?
How does it play out in real time? How we design FleetFox is to act as a plug and play solution. What it means is that we are not on-demand service where you get a car wash or refueling service whenever you feel like it. We work towards autonomy to provide fleet managers fully automated servicing that happens in the background, bring all the SLA standards they have, the frequencies for the services, whatever. We call them servicing rules. So that's where whenever we onboard a new client, it might take a little bit more time to onboard in the sense that there are roughly 30, 40, 50 parameters at least that we need to set up to make sure that everything's running according to the needs and wants of the fleet manager. But in the general picture, once we get everything set up, then fleet manager's job is pretty much just to monitor how things are going and pay the invoice. That's it.
Understood. I'd like to just ask another question, since I mentioned earlier you're one of the top startup builders in Estonia, and
It's
since
very kind of
Estonia,
you.
I mean, it's a nice feat to have.
Thanks.
Since Estonia has a, we can call it tight-knit but powerful ecosystem when it comes to startups,
Mhm.
how does that play a part in shaping FleetFox strategy and growth? How did the startup ecosystem, maybe startup environment in its entirety, help you shape where you are now?
It's definitely super strong. For many foreign countries, VCs and so forth, it sometimes even comes as a surprise how heavily involved the Estonian ecosystem within the startup sector is. We have quite a few different organizations, founder organizations. The government support is nice. We have very good legal support from the government, support. Everything's available to us, and there's even this kind of like a funny saying in Estonia that if you don't have a startup, you're not a true Estonian, because everybody seems to have their own startup at one point. So yeah, that's definitely I would classify as a very high part of where we are today, because I mean obviously everybody knows that founding your startup is difficult, and there's the speed of the environment is super fast, so it's always really good to have people around you who are supporting you, giving you advice, and just really helping you out in many cases. So
Yeah.
I would definitely put Estonia on top of that particular part, definitely.
Great, great. So if we want to open a startup, maybe Estonia should be our first choice.
We should definitely go up north,
Oh,
but we're too south.
well, I can tell you right away, it takes only 4 minutes to start the company here. So
Okay,
maybe
so it's a bit different case than in Croatia. I'm a
It's a different case, definitely.
different case.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about. We feel like everybody in the mobility space is talking about growth, but actually, only few of them are actually dealing with things that you are dealing with: cleaning, charging, fixing. So why do you think so many of them are underestimating how, messy fleet maintenance can get or gets?
I don't think it's a lot related to the mess itself. It's more or less related to just this industry is not sexy enough. Nobody
Okay.
wants to do things that are not sexy. We're happy to do it ourselves. Because I mean, every technology is evolving fast. We have AI and things running everywhere. A lot of hype around that area, but very few have the balls to start something like we have started. Just because one of the key aspects is when, especially, you're offering a wide range of services, you're involving gig economy workforce, etc., etc. There are hundreds of different moving particles that have to move all in one excellent formula. So it's a very operations heavy business. And one of the advantages that exactly we are working on and trying to improve constantly is turning this into a competitive advantage, because there are so many different moving parts in the background to make sure that there is a person at the right time, at the right location, doing the right things with minimum cost and maximum quality. So putting all these things together, that's why the tech component we are building is definitely giving us an advantage. And I know for a fact, it's underserved market. Not too many competitors out there. There's one from a French company doing similar things. Might be a few unknown, no-name uh, companies I haven't found yet. But so far, what I've seen is that it's a emerging market, and it's also supported by the early stage of car sharing in particular. I mean, car sharing has not been around for years and years. In some countries, yes, but on a global scale, it's kind of like a new thing, new trend that's evolving. And based on that, I believe that we have like a in a way got first comer advantage, and that's where we want to really dominate as well.
What would you say like the biggest misconception most people have or companies have regarding maintenance of a fleet?
I think one of the main concepts is that it's not rocket science. I mean, everybody can grab a bucket and a sponge and go wash cars on the street. That's no problem. But the complexity starts to evolve from the fact when you're trying to do that on scale and with a standardized quality and without actually paying on top of that. Especially when you're working with large corporate fleets, I'm talking the fleet sizes of thousands and thousands. These companies are extremely cost sensitive. If we come from a background being in the B2C sector, if you compare the prices expected by a consumer versus a mega fleet, as we call them, the difference can be 3 to 5 times, not 20%, not 40%, 3 to 5 times, and you need to break a profit from that. So I think if you're asking about the misconception, is that most likely the misconception is that it's really easy to do. No, it's not.
It seems so. It seems so. You've already said there's a lot of stuff going behind the scenes. Uh, I'd like to ask you, how do you actually manage, since you have over 200 partners? How do you actually manage and motivate over 200 Fox partners across so many countries? How do you manage to get the same level of quality service across all partners, across all cities and countries?
There's no one straightforward answer here. It's a combination of multiple things that have to happen in the right time. It's definitely one thing is KYC and screening. You need to make sure that the contractors that actually are accepted on the platform, they are eligible, they have motivation to start, they have all the training they need, and so forth. But it's also coming down to a little bit about the beauty of the business where we are in. If you compare, gig economy, other major players, usually it's like, food delivery, ride hailing, stuff like that. The ticket sizes are way smaller. So this also gives us an advantage that, I'm actually able to book a gig economy worker to do a job maybe for an hour in some cases. It's not like a straightforward 5-minute drive from a restaurant to somewhere else. And also because we're working 24/7, especially required by car sharing companies to increase fleet utility and decrease downtimes. Then we are also offering a unique opportunity to actually operate during night hours, which for many cases is something that some of the people are looking for to be, earn some money during the night hours. And at the end of the day, it's all about performance. You need to find a way how to decrease driving times because nobody's paying for you for driving in our business. It's a fixed rate business. And also the performance in terms of making sure that you don't need to fix the quality later on, overinvest in infrastructure, and also keeping the service times to the bare minimum. So it's a SLA management business in that sense as well, because everybody has their own SLA standards. But we need to find a way, and that's where technology comes into play to give the contractors a step-by-step guide on how this particular car for this particular client in that particular location needs to be solved. So there's no waste of time doing excess or less.
Yeah, now that you mentioned, technology plays a huge role in this entire grand scheme of things. When you think about your competitive edge, how much of it comes from your tech stack versus pure operational muscle?
It's a combination of both, definitely. I mean, technology at the end of the day is a tool you're using to provide a process, right? But first of all, humans need to design the process. You need to go through quite a lot of different mistakes, which in our business can be quite expensive, and learn from those mistakes and then constantly optimize until you get to a viable model which you're willing to digitize. And that's exactly what we've been doing in the past few years, is that first we start by hiring somebody for a job, then we start seeing the patterns that something is repeatable, something's comes to a point where it's quite easy to figure, do a week's job of development and actually get rid of that job. And that's exactly what you need to do in the business where we are in, is constantly find ways how to digitize different activities that are going on in the background and also on the on-site.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So what we can expect is from your platform to keep evolving and to maybe keep increasing parameters, the number of parameters, keep increasing the quality, quality level of your service. So this is something you brought down to a science, basically. It's just, you have ton of factors, you're trying to influence each one to increase the uh, quality level. I like your approach. It's really cool. You've taken you know how they say, all those big entrepreneurs, they say, always follow your passion, follow your passion. And the thing is, they always come from these boring industries. So fleet maintenance, as you said, it may not be sexy, it may be classified as a boring industry, but when you bring it down to a science, it's really the big money maker. It's really something.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, my view of the share mobility was always it looks super sleek, super digital, but actually someone has to do the dirty work, kind of clean and maintain fuel and everything. So where do you kind of see FleetFox fitting into the bigger, the bigger mobility puzzle, let's say?
Yeah, it's always like really puzzling to see the people's faces, like who are using car sharing on a daily basis, and then I ask them the question: Do you ever wonder who washes it, who fuels it? They're like, oh, it just somehow miraculously it's always clean, right? And that's where we say, that's probably FleetFox doing a night shift, made sure that everything's there. And in shared mobility particularly, like this is something that I also fully support, and this is one of the reasons actually why not the only reason, but one of the reasons why we started from this particular sector alone. And that's roughly more 1.5 years we were focused only on car sharing companies, no other players, because in the markets where we were operating at that time, car sharing companies were pretty much the largest fleets you can have in any city. I mean, take Tallinn, for example. We have a population of 1.3 million. Car sharing vehicles, roughly at one point, I think was between 2 to 3,000. Finding another fleet like this, really difficult. But also, it's the highest frequency of servicing because many people are using them on a daily basis. And there's a variety of different business cases, which was very useful for us to learn about the industry in its entirety. But yeah, now more than a half a year ago, if you're asking for the bigger picture, then this is where we started to realize that car sharing is extremely limited, right? We saw a quick trend that we can launch a market in a few weeks. We can get them to break even in a matter of 2 or 3 months. And then we get to the ceiling with the clients. There's no more. We just need to wait for either them to infleet more cars, but that's not a business we want to be in. So we had to find a way how to break that ceiling and tackle a larger market. Quickly, we realized that there's other sectors, other businesses from SMEs to mega fleets that need the same services. And at the end of the day, it's like if you have a number of cars, all of them need the same services. It's just a matter of finding a perfect fit for the SLAs, the processes, the communication, everything between. So every company in that sense might be different in some ways, but that's the job we are working on today. I mean, we're not in a perfect situation where I can say that we have a working solution for any sector, any industry yet, but that's definitely what we are working towards too.
And so I want to ask you, like focusing on car sharing, what is the current state of car sharing in the Baltics, in the Northern Europe? Is it like developing? Because we covered the topic a few times before, and as we know that the cars are getting more and more expensive, the ownership is like a luxury today. So
Yeah.
is it scaling exponentially? Is it scaling on high numbers? How is it going so far?
Depends a lot on the company. Car sharing companies are providing the same service, but from a business model angle, they are quite different, especially who are focused more on cost efficiency, good coverage, decent coverage, not oversupply on the market, and so forth. So there was just a recent example in Poland. Panic closed down business because just couldn't break a profit. The maintenance costs per car was roughly 690 euros, and that's only maintenance costs. Then you have also bank like loan costs, you have team marketing and all that. So they were like pushing a loss for a very long time. And there was another thing that is affecting the car sharing industry a lot is vandalism. It's in many cases, many countries where a new foreign company is entering, then many of the local people, they start vandalizing the cars, and that gets really expensive. It's not like you take a scooter and you throw it in a river and the cost of that is 100 euros, but if you crash a brand new car, that's 40 50k. from one case. And that's really some of the few challenges car sharing industry is facing. Obviously, Euribor rates or central bank rates not helping them much, especially when the big crisis hit. A lot of the car sharing companies started to defleet cars just because they needed to sell out some of the cars to keep their businesses running. So it's definitely super challenging. But I do see that car sharing is here to stay. It's never going to go away just because of the concept of the business model is that an average personal car based on some statistics, is used only 2 to 3% of the
Yeah.
time. 97% of the time, it's just parked and waiting for something. So sharing economy, especially with the cars, is something that the governments, European Union, everybody else are investing heavily into, especially with Green Deal environment and so forth. So I see that definitely it's here to stay. But right now, if you're asking for a short answer, I think car sharing is definitely facing a hiccup right now.
Yeah, it seems like that. We've already talked with some with some entrepreneurs in this area, and yeah, car sharing is hitting a bit of a hiccup currently. And yeah, as you said, this is a perfect example of why this why this industry is never going to go away, especially that number 2% of the entire time the car is being used, and
Yeah,
the rest it just sits.
yeah.
So yeah,
And
yeah,
add on top of here, the usage is still not there. I mean, generally, we think of car sharing as a green company, trying to maximize the utilization of each car. Depending on a market, obviously, and depending on the business or the brand itself, the best cases I've seen so far is roughly 5 people using one car on average daily, which is not a lot. If these
yeah.
are 10 to 15-minute drives, that's still not achieving the full maximum potential that could be implemented in terms of green movement within car sharing. And in many cases in the Baltics region, as far as my data goes, average car gets used by 2, maybe 3 people every day. So it's still not there. So that's why also some countries, especially Germany, is subsidizing. Let's take Miles Mobility, for example, and other, German car sharing companies. They need to be subsidized because there's a certain time that we need to wait for everybody to get rid of their personal cars first and for the adoption of car sharing to really take place.
Yeah, I'm just listening you talk. I'm thinking about what about robo taxis, autonomous cars in the future?
Mhm.
This seems like a market you can potentially cover pretty good, especially in the US. Now we've covered a lot of topics about Waymo and now Tesla, promising big things.
Mhm.
Even now in Croatia, we have a company developing autonomous taxis. So is that a potential market you could cover?
It's definitely a market we could cover. We can see a lot of connection points there. One thing that is high possibility that's going to be taken away from us is exterior washing. I mean, all the cities already they have their automatic car wash tunnels, so why not an autonomous car just drive through that? It's not a complicated thing for a robot taxi to do. But whenever it comes to fueling, damage inspections, interior cleanings, all the other things that where you don't have an existing infrastructure where you can just drive through, this is definitely a very good connection point for FleetFox as well. How I see it personally, definitely US is on top of the autonomous driving industry. I'm not an expert in that field, so I'm not the right guy to say, but I think it really makes sense. Like when I've heard from various other smart people saying that most likely, if autonomous vehicles start to be implemented on scale, first it's going to come from US, and most likely it'll take about 5 years post that to arrive to Europe. So given that time frame, I think we have a lot of time on our hands to be prepared for something like this and figure out the solution before it actually comes. And when it comes, that's where we want to be ready to welcome autonomous driving already here, because most likely it's going to be a US company launching in Europe. That's just a hypothesis I'm doing here. And first thing they're going to look for is a maintenance partner. And once FleetFox has already great coverage geographically and within all the services, I think that's going to be the first choice for them as well.
Another question on company expansion. Just to bring this closer to us a bit. When you think about entering a new city, since you're already in 11 cities now, what are the conditions you look for first? What are some of the first things you look at? how do you qualify a city for your services?
When working with large international companies, as we do, actually the clients make it quite easy for us. There's no rocket science behind that. What we like to call is an anchor client strategy. So that means whenever I get a one client here in Estonia and they're also present in Latvia, Lithuania, most likely we're going to get an invitation. So one tactic we're using is just going through invitations and trying to increase the portfolio of international companies where we can, have more invitations to the markets. But for us, the critical point is just getting the critical mass up. So that's in most cases just one or two major fleet companies. Once we have a contract with them, we're ready to go. And given the business model itself, I mean, as far as there is, no strict policy against independent contractors, I know Norway possibly is not a good option for us in that case, but all the other markets where there are even similar models available, then that totally fits our boat. And right now, I know it's not the best thing to say, but for us currently, this has worked in the best way. Just going through the invitations, and it's one of the key problems we solve from day one, and then we start figuring out how we're going to get more clients later. Because generally speaking, a fleet manager's problems or headaches on a daily basis, they are international.
Yep. And just another question, looking ahead, where do you see the most momentum in terms of growth or client demand? So is it, as you said, getting the invitations, but where do you see, as I said, the most momentum in terms of growth?
Yeah, very good question. I can just give you one example that we are currently working on, and we see a lot of potential in that particular area. Is keyword is strategic partnerships. I see that and this is part of the grand big vision for FleetFox as well. I know you, Philip, introduced as a fleet servicing company, but that's not the vision where we want to be headed. We want to be a one-stop shop combining light services, hard services, hardware solutions, and SaaS solutions all into one unified dashboard, if I may. So this is something that we see already working really well. We have quite a few partners already. And the trend I'm seeing is that there are a lot of different, even smaller or mid-sized solutions for fleet managers, but everybody's doing their own kind of niche category. And from a fleet manager's perspective, that means another dashboard. I don't want to have another dashboard. Or another onboarding, or another API integration here, or another SLA agreement, and it's just so complex. And that's where we want to act as a glue between merging all those solutions into one-stop shop solution. And I think that's exactly the trend I'm seeing personally, is that not just to reinvent the wheel, but really connecting with all the other companies, such as you guys. I mean, finding ways how we can merge the client portfolios, speed up the acquisition of clients. In some cases, even a strategic partnership can create additional value, kind of like a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of scenario. So I see that definitely as we look forward into the upcoming years, and not just from FleetFox. I see that as a major trend where companies start to collaborate together to create a bigger picture.
Yeah, that's what we've noticed. Some EV companies, automotive companies, working together on creating new subsidies, new car models that are specific to some market or something similar. So yeah, that's exactly what we were seeing too. It's collaborations, it's acquisitions, it's mergers, it's company spin-offs. So this is kind of the direction we're going in, all of us. Okay, that's where we can agree definitely. Marin, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking you mentioned your clients, your clientele, and I was curious. I mean, it's 2025. We have to mention sustainability. We have to. How are your clients approaching this? Is it something that's really important to them? You're sustainable, or is it like a nice to have feature?
Depends on the company again. I mean, companies are different. Some who have more money to play around, they're more focused on sustainability as well, because in many cases, especially in mobility, sustainability has a price tag in many cases. Not in all cases, but in some cases. So it's just really depending on the culture of the business as well. We personally, we don't put this as a unique selling proposition, even though it is there. But FleetFox is also not like directly a green tech
Yep.
company per se, right? There's um, like long distance or like connected green part to FleetFox. So don't have a good comment on that here, but we're definitely not using this as a selling argument today.
Sure, sure. I mean, you could say you're a green cog in the machine, like
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, there's this one comparison I've made before with car sharing companies specifically. I mean, we know that most of them are lossy companies. I mean, they're still struggling to break a profit, but as we help them cut down the costs on maintenance and big part of the operations as well. We kind of like to think that we are not the Batman in saving the planet, but we might be the Robin, helping Batman to do its work.
And Robin gets a spotlight, so we all know it. Okay, uh, let's take a look forward. You solved a big chunk of the operations puzzle, but what's next? What's next for FleetFox? Is there a fleet pain point you haven't tackled yet, or is there some new cool addition to your platform, something you're looking forward to?
Well, this is something that we're going to be working towards in the next few years. We've already close to wrapping up our fundraise to support that as well. But the big vision I am building towards, and what really gets me excited, is building this one-stop solution. Really creating the API integrations, creating the strategic partnerships, creating the network, and economy or like a community behind creating this one-stop shop for fleet managers where they can get access to everything, making the life easier by just introducing them to the innovation that is out there without them having to go to a mobility convention and discover that by themselves, or without them having to invest their tech teams into building more tech or doing the API integrations and so forth, but having everything in one place. And I know it's a very crazy ass innovation, like a vision for the company. I know there's definitely quite a few challenges that I don't even know yet. But I know for fact that having something like this is super valuable to the fleet managers, and that's the main question you need to be focusing on. Is that valuable? Today we can't really even put a price tag on it, but I know it's definitely valuable, and then we just have to find a way how to put all the dots together for that. So if you're asking what is the next exciting thing, then right now we are looking into our very first SaaS integrations. Some of the partnerships we're currently in discussions with revolve around AI damage inspection. A spin-off from that could be also AI washing quality inspection. This is something that is totally not available on the market, but we
Yeah.
want to see if there's a way for how to use AI image recognition also for improving the quality of services and having more control around that. So these are just the very near term things we're currently working on, but the list of categories of different problems and cases for fleet managers are massive. So right now I don't know what's going to be the next one after that, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it seems like you could expand into any category, into any let's call it sub-market, any niche with FleetFox. So it could go into maybe diagnostics, in-vehicle software, or maybe something else. I'd like to ask you internally, what was the toughest strategic decision you've made, or something you're grappling with right now? How to steer the boat in the right direction.
In terms of strategic decisions that already have been made, obviously the pivot was the the hardest. I mean, it's like saying goodbye to thousands and thousands of clients, and really 6 years we were trying to make that scalable, but then we figured like, no, that's not going to put another unicorn on the Estonians map, and we just had to make a tough decision. After the decision, obviously everybody were happy. Business was easier. We have significantly smaller number of decision makers to be working around with, and so forth. Current challenges, I mean, we've been fundraising for quite a long time. I mean, this is general for all startups is that fundraising comes at a cost, and it's like super 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 difficult. I wasn't really expecting that, but if I take the entire time frame, I think we've been fundraising more or less 8 or 9 months, and right now we got the first term sheet. So it takes a lot of time. It's one of the key challenges, but now I know term sheet is not a guarantee for a round, but it seems like we're moving in a good direction with this.
Yeah, that's perfect to hear. I mean, yeah, I can agree. Raising funds for a startup is incredible. I do have some startup friends who are currently fundraising, and it's their, first thing they think about when they wake up, the last thing they think about before they go to sleep.
Yeah.
It never goes away. It never goes away. Martin, please take the mic.
Yeah, I want to reflect a bit about founding the company pretty much. So FleetFox isn't flashy as we mentioned, but it is definitely mission critical, and
Mhm.
you manage to scale it across Europe, and that kind of work takes a different mindset, of course. So, is there anything you had to unlearn on your founder journey or pivoting the company?
Very good question. I don't think we've had to unlearn anything because every lesson still adds value to whatever is waiting for you ahead. I don't think we would be here today if we didn't have the 6 years of experience working with B2C. But definitely, when the pivot happened, what was a challenge back then is to really shift the mindset of the entire team. And one mistake, at least what I did, is I thought like, let's continue with the same brand. It's a minor thing. I never thought about it like this is something that matters. I'm not a big brand person per se, but it was something that everybody still had. Back then we were called up steam, like up and steam, like pressurized water, and everybody still had the up steam mindset. And then we said, "Oh, fuck it, let's pivot, let's rebrand, and then we're gonna say it's a totally new company, even though the entity still remains the same and so forth." But it took some time really to get the people out from the previous mindset. And one of the aspects of the mindset was, when we were in B2C, the quality was totally different. We were doing like, pretty much detailing jobs back then. I personally, I can do a fantastic detailing job on a car because I've washed like 1,000+ cars myself, no problem. But when we went to B2C, it wasn't about that level of quality anymore. It was more about operational efficiency. There was pricing on the service and so forth. So we had to change services, processes, mindset, everything revolving that. Hey guys, now we're totally different, and that took some time, but now we're here.
Now, I'm just thinking because again, I want to call FleetFox as like a boring company,
Thank you.
but it's yeah, I don't want to call it like that. But is there something you can maybe give advice to someone who's also trying to tackle something that's not super flashy, that's not AI integration, mobility, that's not rather something that's happening in the background, as you said, nobody knows who takes care of these
Mhm.
car sharing cars. Is there something you can say to those people who are looking forward to maybe starting a business similar to yours or with similar ideas?
Well, I think starting a business in any sector is pretty much the same. But I can definitely share few ideas that definitely pump into my mind in terms of if you want to be successful or not. One thing is definitely in operations heavy servicing related businesses, it's all about the fundamentals. Fundamentals need to be strong, right? So you can build all the smokes and whistles, you can try to work on the making the button from green to red, whatever, it doesn't matter. What matters is the operational foundation of the company. So you need to make sure that the top revenue producing services or the highest value to the client, they are like Chick-fil-A's. Uh, it's
Okay.
it's always the same and it's always working perfectly and it's profitable. Anything else you add on top of that, it's a good bonus, but do not take too much on your hands at the same time. In the specific industry where we are, there are two companies that used to be our competitors but now are bankrupt. Serve Mobility and Benfleet Services. Serve Mobility CEO, I spoke to them, and he told me very straightforward. They got a bunch of cash from the investors, and then eventually what happened was that they started adding services on services, more features and so forth. So you were over scaling a thing that wasn't really ready for scaling. And this is something that we've taken lessons from people that have made a big mistake and try to do it differently. So, for example, that's why you might say that FleetFox is relatively slow in terms of launching new services or features. But we just want to make sure that every time we take something on, we develop it to the full context so we can say that, hey, it's scalable, it's profitable, and it works. And now we start moving to the next part. So it's a lot about focus and the fundamentals. These are the keywords I would definitely bring here.
Yeah, really good. I also share the same opinions. I feel like nowadays all the brands in the world have so many features and so many options that the customers can feel overwhelmed at some point, really. And the best companies in the world, I mean, Tesla has only three color options and two interior options and four wheel types. So it's not really that hard.
Less
But
more, yeah, definitely.
less is more, yeah, definitely. So I was thinking again. Speaking of the future, where do you see FleetFox in 5 years, let's say? You definitely mentioned something before, but I just wanted to see your perspective. For example, like seeing the company in 5 years is something major changing, attacking new markets, new
Yeah.
features.
If you asked me this question 5 years ago, I think it would really make sense to answer that. But right now, I mean, every time I get a small giggle, like when somebody's asking me, like, what do you envision is going to be in 5 years?
Yeah, maybe you'll be.
Nobody knows. Nobody
New
knows.
company,
We
new
don't know
company.
what's going to happen in 5 months. That's
Absolutely.
that's where we live today. Is that obviously it's very useful to have a long-term vision that might create work for you for the next 5 years. And that's what I've also already said. We want to be a one-stop shop for fleet managers, merging 4 different verticals all into one solution. Maybe it's going to take us 10 years. I don't know. But if you're asking me where FleetFox is in 5 years, answer is I don't know. I don't know. We're just going to take one step at a time, but we always keep in mind the end goal where we want to move forward. So everything we build is not like separate systems or separate verticals. We want to build it as Lego blocks, like adding another Lego block on top of each other, so it creates a nice castle. And that's the best answer I can give you, because I mean, even looking like where AI is moving, maybe AI might be totally disrupting our industry as well. So we in 5 months maybe I need to do a pivot on the company. I don't know.
Let's
Absolutely.
let's hope not. I mean, if you pivot, we hope it will be successfully.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, if someone asked you just 3 years ago, who could say that you would pivot? Like you wouldn't know. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just wait to see how the day plays out.
Yeah.
Just a few quick hits, quick questions to wrap up this. Uh, I'd like to ask you, what do you think? What is the most underrated challenge in shared mobility?
Whew.
I
Shared
personally say vandalism because it was an interesting one, but you got a bit more experience in this industry, so I'd really like to hear your take on this.
First, I got to put a disclaimer here. I'm definitely not the top level expert to, give you some fancy advice here on that part, but definitely just what I'm seeing from, what's going on. Definitely, vandalism is one of the top issues. What is also an issue is definitely the geolocation accuracy, smoking in cars, speeding, drunk driving, any kind of idea that can pop into your mind in terms of cars. That's a big issue for them, because I mean, if you have a two cars problem is way smaller than you would have if you had like 3,000 cars and 3-4 people using them on a daily basis. But in terms of like where I see the success of car sharing finally taking place is definitely going to be related to the utilization of the vehicles. That's the core KPI that needs to be fixed, and that's what they're heavily focused on to produce business results. It's getting from the people per day per car to 4 people to 5 people to 6 people. If there's a good solution for that, well, probably it's like sales and marketing and stuff like that. But definitely, that's one of the key success factors for a car sharing industry in total.
Got
What
it.
about what about most overrated metric when it comes to fleet tech?
Lead tech, overrated metrics. I don't know, man.
Maybe something companies focus on that it really doesn't matter that much.
Maybe, I mean, again, coming a little bit too much from our perspective, it's if if I approach a fleet manager with the price proposals we're offering them, in some cases they're like, hey, I can do it cheaper, I can do it that, and so forth. But at the end of the day, we're looking for autonomy. You want to focus on scaling your business, not scaling your operations. So definitely, I would say that in some cases, and that's what we see with the existing clients as well, in some cases they're even taking on additional cost to be able to well, let's call it the right way, fire some people in their team and make their business more lean. So at the end of the day, nobody wants to work on the dirty work, which we love doing. The more you outsource, the more scalable you become.
And another question. One thing, if you could automate just one thing, what would it be?
There's a layer of different things.
Oh,
Well,
definitely.
I mean, right now, definitely what we're trying to
Top
automate
three.
is
Top three.
damage and the quality inspections. It is a difficult thing, especially in the gig economy industry. Everybody wants to maximize their earnings. There's a lot of fraud going on. Everybody just wants to do as little and earn as much as possible. So we can't afford a manager to follow all the contractors on all tasks. So we need to find an automated way and a reliable way how to have more control over all the services that are taking place.
And the last question to close the interview.
Mhm.
Platform scale, margin, or quality? Which of these keep you up at night? So which one of these three would you deem the most important? So platform scale, margins, or quality?
There was three options, right?
Yeah.
Platform scale. Platform scale is definitely something I am the most concerned about, or what really keeps me up at the night. Margin is a result of scale and also quality. So margin is definitely something the business needs to have just to be viable. But I try to focus on it as little as possible.
Get it. The more you scale, the more margin comes in. Let's say it like that.
It's a volume business, definitely. More volume, better margins.
Awesome. I think we've now officially exhausted all of our questions we prepared. Thank you, Martin. Thank you for this pleasant conversation. Huge thanks to Martin and the FleetFox team for giving us a look into the high stakes, high complexity world of shared mobility operations. It's not a clean business as many in mobility industry would like, but it's a crucial one. And when we talk about the future of transportation, we talk about autonomy, electrification, and AI, but none of it works if fleets fall apart. If they are not maintained, all of it is useless. And companies like FleetFox remind us that the future of mobility is only as strong as the teams that are keeping it running. And yeah, that's a wrap up on today. We'll be back soon with more builders reshaping the systems that move us. And until then, stay curious, stay critical, and keep charging ahead. Thank you.